Mark, we're here today because of the crash of an Air Canada jet at LaGuardia Airport. How unusual is it from a safety standpoint for a commercial jet to collide with a vehicle on an active runway, such as what happened last night?
This is very unusual. The FAA has a lot of procedures in place. Pilots are trained, ground crew are trained to avoid these types of situations, but it's a very dynamic environment. There's a lot going on. So the people who are managing traffic have to be very vigilant.
Walk us through what happened and what should have happened under standard FAA procedures with regards to any ground vehicles that may be cleared to cross a runway.
Yeah, this was an unusual situation that actually the fire truck, as we understand it, was responding to a different emergency, and in the process actually created a new one. And the air traffic controller was obviously the person in charge of making sure everybody is where they're supposed to be. Something got dropped in the process. There was a procedural error, a mental error on the part of the controller, but this should not have happened.
Yeah, from what we've heard so far, we understand that the controller was yelling, "Stop, stop, stop," moments before the crash. What does that tell you about situational awareness in the tower?
Yeah, somebody wasn't on top of the game. It's an unusual situation, obviously responding to an emergency. People have to act quickly, think quickly, but there are procedures for that as well. I mean, you can't just disregard the entire operation of the airport to respond to one particular incident. So, and it's not just one person. There's a whole crew in the air traffic control tower, and there's a backup.
Talking about the crew in the air traffic control tower, how much of this comes down to liability by the individual controller versus systemic issues such as staffing or workload or training?
Yeah, well, after the full investigation is done, we'll have a better idea of that, but it's all on recording. The entire decision-making process, all of the actions will be well understood once we have in hand, which the FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board already have in hand right now, all of the communications leading up to the incident.
For viewers that are unfamiliar with air traffic control, when they make a mistake, can the federal government actually be held liable?
Yeah, absolutely. The Federal Tort Claims Act, that's the title of the law that's governing in this situation, provides for compensation for victims of negligence on the part of federal operators, the government agents that actually were contributing to this happening.
What defenses do you anticipate that the federal government can make?
The first that comes to mind, of course, is that it's an emergency situation, and it requires quick action and fast thinking and reaction. But that is something that we're trained for. Pilots are trained for. Air traffic controllers are trained for. So the existence of an emergency in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's excused. The air traffic controllers should have known where that fire truck was headed and that an aircraft was cleared. You might question the situational awareness of the truck driver as well, but once they're cleared to cross a runway, you still have to look, see, and avoid if you can.
Why do people need a specialized aviation attorney for this type of accident?
It's not simple. It's not a car accident. The federal government's involved. There are airlines involved, and it's just a complex environment, and the litigation involved with air traffic control and federal government in general. It's just hard for an individual to do on their own.
As an attorney here at DJC Law in the aviation section, what would you advise passengers who are on the flight to be doing right now?
Well, they need to get care. If they're injured, the first thing they got to do is take care of themselves and their families. It's not an emergency from their point of view to get it to a lawyer, but I guarantee you that the government's lawyers are already on it, that the lawyers for the airline are already on it, and they're already building defenses. So it's always in someone's interest to seek out legal advice as early as possible.
At the end of the day, Mark, is this the type of event that should never happen if the system's working correctly?
Should not happen. The emergency that we're told existed that caused the crew to respond in a vehicle crossing a runway. Those kind of things happen, but that has to be anticipated. It's built into the system. There's a procedural set of standards that come into play, and air traffic controllers have to be aware not just of one thing happening in one area of the airport. They're responsible for safety of everyone, including the airplanes landing, people on the ground. The whole three-dimensional picture is their responsibility.
Thank you, Mark.